Today we're going mudlarking somewhere that we shouldn't be.
This is a really interesting board. It shows the reservoir and it shows what you can see on your view. The only problem is this was put here before the trees arrived. You can't see anything at all. But if you look through there, you can see a little bit of blue, so I think that we can just about see the reservoir and definitely hear the noise of the road behind us. You can see the reservoir down there. The water level used to be there. So if we go here, now we're on the edge of the reservoir. So come on, if you're an optimist, pop your wellies on, we're going in. Oh, doesn't feel very wet, it doesn't feel very cold, but this is what the bed of the reservoir looks like when there's water over it. We never get to see that.
Poor fishermen have had to walk a lot further.
Yes, if I show you down there, it's a long way down. I can't see where I'm pointing. There-ish is a fisherman. He's had to walk for ages to get to the water's edge. Still beautiful though, and we're hoping to find something that may have been flooded by the reservoir when it was built. We never know. What do you reckon? Will we find something really interesting? Let's find out. We're working our way along the reservoir bed and you can see one of the small tributaries is still flowing, but there just isn't enough water coming down to keep the reservoir topped up, and we need to cross that. And because I knew the reservoir levels were low, I haven't got my wellies on. No, Phil hasn't either, so we're going to give it a try. But this is interesting because this is the bed of the river. Oh no, that looks like a bit of pipe stem. I have to check. What do you reckon? Twig or pipe stem? It's a twig. Lots of stones here, but nothing of any significance or interest really, because anything that was here during the times when the river was flowing quite strongly, it would have all been washed down into the actual reservoir. But I thought it was worth a look before we continue onwards across and down there where I can see something interesting. We found another river. Oh dear, we can't cross here, it's too steep, so we're going to go up there and see if we can climb down without falling and without getting covered in mud. What do you think?
I found a bridge.
Oh right, Phil's found a bridge. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, somebody built a sort of bridge out of logs.
And there's something in the water, but I think it's a can.
Ah. Ooh, very slippery. As Phil ventures forth, the intrepid explorer.
Whoa.
He finds something of great value. Is it the Holy Grail?
Oh, it's a can.
It's a can. Ah. Is it a vintage can?
No.
It's a modern can.
Yeah.
Oh well, at least you didn't climb down there just to get the can.
I think it's orangina.
Oh, very nice.
It is crossable.
Right, shall we believe Phil? Very muddy. Come on, we give it a try. And this is what we came to see. Now, unfortunately, there are some signs up saying danger, deep water, deep drops, keep out, cadwch allan. But that doesn't stop us going for a look at it and to go underneath. So come on, let's go and see what this is. And look at that! It's a double arched bridge over the river, and this was flooded when they built the reservoir. So really, we should have drowned by now. There should be water well above us. But because of the drought, we can actually get to see this beautiful construction. Look at that. Let's have a good look at those arches. Oh, isn't that wonderful? I don't think they're going to be standing for much longer, because when they go back under the water, then it's going to keep getting worn. You can see there's not much in between the stones now. A couple of good storms through the winter and this could all come down, so nobody may ever see this again, not in this condition. So we are quite honoured to see it, and we brought you to see it too. What do you think? Do you think that was worth the long walk? I do.
The Cwm Taff Bridge that crosses over Taff Fawr here at Llwynon disappeared underwater decades ago, following an Act of Parliament that determined that 4 miles above the town of Merthyr they were to create a reservoir, and that reservoir was going to consume not only this bridge but also the village that was here, the small hamlet, as 670 million gallons of water just flooded the valley, and the village of Llwyn-onn was no more, as it disappeared below the water level, only to emerge on very rare occasions when the drought takes a grip on the land of Wales and the water levels plummet, even as they have today. These days, as you can see just over there, the keystones are shifting. It's only a matter of time before the bridge here joins the rest of the buildings, the old chapel and the houses that once lined this riverbank, and becomes rubble that'll be consumed by the river. But I'd love to take a little look in the river. I'm not expecting to find tremendous treasures, but I would love to find just some little piece of the history of what once stood on these riverbanks. And I suspect that that could well be a piece of slate off one of the properties that once stood here. The only way to find out is to get cold hands. Right, oh, let's dip in and see what we've got.
There is the bridge, there's the river, but I'm not finding much on the ground. I'm not too surprised, because if you look upwards where all these tributary rivers are coming from, they're coming from the top of mountains where there are hardly any dwellings, just a very rare farmhouse. So not a lot of rubbish to actually wash down, but I wanted to show you this. I was wandering along, looking along, finding the odd twig, finding the odd little bit of gravel or rock, and then I saw this. Look at that. I left it in place because I wanted you to see. It's a piece of ridge pottery. And what is a mudlark without ridge pottery? Hello, Mr. Johnson. Are you balancing very precariously?
I am very precariously balancing.
Ooh, that's a bit of a
very
rocky
wobbly
rock.
stone. But
Yeah.
I have risked life and limb for a treasure worth finding.
Oh yes, let's have a look.
This would not be as significant anywhere else. But I wanted...
Could you stand still?
I'm trying. I wanted something that belonged here.
Right.
When this was a place that people lived, where community happened, long before the need for water put their buildings into its watery grave. And look what I found.
Oh, wow. Look at that. It's a big old dinner plate. One of those serving dishes, I would say. If you can imagine, it was face down, so I just thought, oh, is it a white stone or is it a bit of earthenware? Very nice.
But just by your feet, I've already found one piece of slate, but I think there's another just there in the water.
Oh, my rock's nice and firm.
Mine ain't.
Yeah, it's another piece of slate. Ooh, you can see that end rather grubby. That's been on somebody's roof for a while. And then, have you seen this bit of pottery?
Oh, aye.
No, it's not range but it's a little bit of stoneware. Oh, well, there's not a lot of finds, but there are interesting finds when you think nobody really lives here or above here.
No one has lived here for a long time. But of course, Anisavellin was a small community, and these finds, I believe, the slates, the bits and pieces, there's a chunk of wood there that I dragged out, and I just thought, I wonder if that was a beam from an old chapel or something. It's the kind of place that makes history come alive and puts you in touch with the past.
So this is Phil's piece of wood. Whoa, it's really heavy, it's so sodden. If I put my hand there for perspective.
See the top edge? I don't
think it's definitely a plank.
It's a plank, you know.
I would say, yeah. Oh, very nice. It may have been a tree and the bark's come off there, but it seems a little bit too manufactured to me. Oh, look, do you think that's a twig or a pipe stem?
Twig.
Twig. One day. Oh, now that looks like a marble, doesn't it? Can you see it there? Well, it's almost a marble. It's a hazelnut. There isn't a lot to find in this river, but Phil is determined that he wants to fall in, I think. He's precariously wandering along in his shoes. If we had wellies, it wouldn't be a problem. Oh, you found a stone?
Yeah, but see there's mortar on it.
Right, so that's from a building
so that's
then.
Out of somebody's house, possibly, or a bit of the bridge. That looks like a bit of white paint.
It could well be...
So I'm thinking somebody's house.
As this is an opportunity that doesn't come by very often, I think we should walk under this arch. Do you want to come with me? Come on then, let's go have a look. It's pretty safe to walk under, even if you haven't got wellies. If you've got your slippers on, probably best to change them though. Let's have a look at this arch. Oh, there are bits starting to drop out. You can see, oh, I don't know if I'm pointing to it properly about there. So I'm not going to stay down here too long. Let's get right the way through to the other side. Ooh, this is quite exciting. I wonder when was the last time somebody stood here and looked up. Ah, now that's interesting. You can see there are two separate arches. I wonder if this was originally just one bridge and then they extended it to double the width, or whether it was built like that. Oh, another thing is interesting. I love seeing the water reflections dancing, and look at that. Right, time to come out from under the bridge just in case any of those stones drop. I haven't got any helmet or anything like that with me, so best to stay out from under there. You can see the pillar supporting the bridge in the middle of the river here. There's not a lot of that left either. It's still amazing to think it survived all these years underneath the water. Oh, and one of the stones is falling out on that arch too. I really think this bridge's days are numbered. I wonder if we'll be the last people to ever see it like this, and it'll just be a pile of rubble next time the reservoir drops to this level. This could be a very special moment.
Well, as they say, slim pickings, and perhaps not something we'd get excited about if we were down the dump or on some other river, but here it's a different story, because these are all little bits of history from a place that vanished so long ago.
There's a piece of ridged pottery, but it's a very broad rib. And what's this? Oh, a piece of marmalade jar.
Just the top edge, do you think?
Yep, there's the rim of it, and you can see by the angle of that, or the curvature, it was a marmalade jar.
But more exciting than the 2 bits of pot is an encounter I've had.
Oh, an encounter.
An encounter. As Caroline walked on up, a lady walked up to me with a rather large dog who was very wet and asked, "Oh, what are you collecting?" I just explained briefly, and she said, "Oh, my partner's great aunt grew up at the pub that is disappeared and was submerged when the village was flooded." And I thought, of all the links with history, here's the greatest link of all. People who knew people who knew people who were once here, part of this life, with the chapel and the pub and the houses and all the rest, that vanished following an act of parliament when the need for water in the big towns and cities below became so great, as of course there was a desire to defeat cholera and all of the terrible things it brought with it. And clean water was the goal back then in the Victorian days.
Oh, is this a bit of glass? It is. It's the bottom of a very thick bottle. Let's hold it up to the light. I say that's a very old beer bottle. I wonder if that came from the pub that that lady's relative used to live in. What do you reckon? Could well have done, you know. What have you found, Mr. Johnson?
As I walked along, I noticed this was down. I just put it back in place to show you how it would have sat like that.
Right.
But look how beautiful that is.
Oh wow, that's lovely, isn't it?
Isn't that a lovely effect?
It is. Gorgeous stone. It's not a fossil, but it's still so pretty. Oh, look at the glistening bits.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye, look, was these. And
beautiful.
This is a bit big.
It is.
But what about that? I think that warrants going in the bag.
You think so?
Well, I think it's the most beautiful thing we found today, and it's certainly by far the oldest.
Yes. You can probably hear somewhere up in the woods we've got the loggers taking down some of the fir trees. Loggers seem to be everywhere we go this summer. I'm sure they're following us. But look at that river, isn't it gorgeous? Bubbling down. And normally, by now it would have already hit the reservoir. It's got quite a distance before it gets to the reservoir, right down there somewhere. Oh look, it's only tiny, but that doesn't matter. It's a little bit of blue and white. Oh, that's lovely and very well worn. Then again, it told me it's on the bottom of the reservoir normally. That's so pretty. Oh, and look, can you see the glistening? I'll pick that up. This stone is so glistening in the sunshine. I hope the camera's picking that up. I'll put it in the shade a bit so you can see it first. This camera doesn't like the sunshine. Isn't that lovely?
I know I can't take it with me, but boy, this would look good in the garden.
It's rather tall, and if you get to the bottom of it, it's rather big as well. But look, I love that star shape.
A sculpture fit for any exhibition. Okay, I'm gonna crack. I've got damp feet now, but I am just too tempted by the bits and pieces we're finding. Even if there's just a few more bits and pieces. I think I saw a brick in the middle of the water.
Oh, not a brick!
A brick. Now, we may be a mile from the car, but I'm convinced it's worth the walk back to get my wellies on. So while I go and get wellied up, pop over to the shed and have a look what's been going on back at HQ. Well, here we are at the shed. it's evening time, but there's still enough light for me to work, and I so wanted to get this piece done to include in this week's video, because I've mentioned for some time about working with slate, and of course we found this lovely piece of slate today, first find in the river, and to touch and handle this and realize it was from one of those properties, possibly one of the two pubs, maybe the chapel, or the little cluster of houses that made up the hamlet there, who knows. But I'm touching part of a history that has been lost under the waters there at the reservoir, but hasn't been lost in our history as a nation, because the stories of the flooding of the valleys are still told today, because those floodings continued right up into the 1960s, and there was a great deal of emotion attached to the events, and that emotion and the tales of those times still carry on. And I wanted to create something today using the slate and seeing what I could make. So I haven't got a clue how this is going to go. This is all new to me, working with slate and not having the correct tools for the job, but hopefully we'll come up with something that represents the image, the feeling, the kind of, I can't think of the word, but there is a link for all of those who live in the valleys of Wales and beyond with the events of the past. And today we drink the very water that comes from the reservoirs up there. And we know there was a price paid by many people who lived in those communities. And I just want to make that something. So I hope that when I finish by here, the light will not have failed us. We'll be able to get it done, and that it'll do what I hope it'll do. Let's get on. Let's see what we can achieve. Well, it's starting to get dark here now, but the light has held just long enough for me to finish. Hope you can still see me. It's a lot brighter through the window than it is in here, I appreciate. But I'm pleased with what I've done. I hope it conveys what I feel and what I wanted to say. It says it to me, and hopefully it says it for me to everyone else. So I'm going to let you take a look at the finished object now, and then let's get back and see what we find when I've got my wellies on, and hopefully I'll get that brick. Okay, wellies on.
Ooh.
I'm ready for action, but I won't be stepping in just by here, because we've come around to the other side so that we can see exactly how far down this water level has gone. It's much less than the 670 million gallons it's meant to hold. And also it's an excuse for me to show you this pretty gate, which I think is very nice.
It is. Shall we walk through it? Come on then everyone, let's walk through the pretty gate.
After you, madam.
And down the steps to the water. Now you can probably see a bit clearer just how low these levels are. From there downwards was water, and it is no more.
There's a clear tide line on the dam wall.
Yep. It looks smaller on camera, you should see that in real life. There's a lot of water that's missing from this reservoir. Did you steal it?
No, it wasn't me. It's all them millions of people down there who keep turning their taps on and running it out much faster than nature is running it in during this hot, dry summer. And I tell you what, just to give perspective,
All right.
I will take my 6-foot frame and I'll go stand by the water's edge so you can see how far down that water's come. Because I'm sure that our friends Pete and Kaz from the Crafty Camper Vanners can see a difference to the view today to when they were staying here a short while ago.
I don't know if this will show, but Phil is walking down rather a steep slope. Down and down. It's amazing to think how many millions of gallons of water that would normally be over his head. Whereas now, nothing. Aha! I found something Phil would like. It's the top of a spike. He does love his rusty spikes. Have you seen what I found?
Ooh, that is neat. That is very neat. Far nicer than what I picked up as I was coming back up. A little bit of china.
Oh yes, with a little bit of blue on.
Yep.
Very nice.
But far prefer the little spike. Just wonder what that held and what purpose it was created for. Well, we're at a picnic table in the mountains above the reservoir. So there's only one thing for a snack. That's a Welsh cake. An acquired taste, perhaps, but one I acquired long ago when Mum used to make these on the bake stone and we'd eat them hot. Today, they're a bit cooler, but I'm sure they'll taste good.
Hello.
Hello.
What have you
Well, we're
got?
in the water and I found a bit more earthen pot.
Yeah, that's quite a big one, isn't it?
Oh,
Could be a flagon of something.
could be.
Or one of those storage pots. Storage
Yeah, one of them jars, 'cause it's quite thick.
It is, yes. I'd say probably quite big.
While I leave you here to carry on looking in the water, I'm just going to head along a bit because I did spot a brick earlier and I'd like to see if there's anything written on it. So I'm off in search of my brick.
Aha! That looks like more stoneware. Oh yes, it's not as big as the last piece. I think that's probably a marmalade jar size. Nothing written on it, and that's not pattern, that's just dirt. Oh, that's quite nice too. I love finding these old things here because we know the story of the little village that was here. Much more fun. Aha! It's time for another game of twig or pipe stem. Twig. Oh, what's that? Oh look! It's another rich pottery marmalade jar. Well, some of it.
I found a brick!
Who's shouting I found a brick? I
got it.
wonder.
I got
Oh,
it! I
yes.
spotted this, but I was wellyless. BB Co.
Oh, very nice.
Something Brick Company.
Yes.
What, I wonder?
Oh, Brecon Brick Company, because
Oh,
we're
could
near
be,
Brecon.
could be. Yeah, we're partway between Merthyr and Brecon. Could be Brecon Brick Company. Could be from North Wales, be Bala Brick Company.
Yeah.
I will check BB Co and find out.
Is that a piece of blue white pottery? Oh yes, it is. And what about that piece next door to it? Do you reckon that's plain or patterned? Patterned? Oh, it looks like it's snapped off there. The river is there. I've come up because I want to walk around and get over there. And I thought I'd show you this. I found some coins. Look at that, it's treasure. We've got a 5p and a 1p. They're very shiny. I wonder if there are any more. Let's have a little look. Oh, there's another one. There's a 2p, so 8p so far. Aha, there's a 20. 28p. No, I can't see any more. And I know they're not from when they flooded the reservoir because they're far too modern. No, 28p. Ooh, the drinks are on me. There's Phil in the water.
In the water.
I can tell. We're taking the easy route. What have you got, Mr. Johnson?
Well, as I wandered in the river, I only found some odds and ends, bits and pieces, but
Some stoneware.
yeah.
More stoneware.
And they've got ridges on it.
A ridgy stoneware.
And then these are little bits of china. And there's a little bit of blue.
Oh, that's
Look at that
cute.
little flower on there.
Isn't that pretty?
I thought that was really nice.
Looks like a fuchsia to me.
And is that stone or is that something else?
I'd say there's probably stone, or it could be some sort of industrial waste, but I don't think it's a pot or anything.
No, that looks
Unless it's something that's been on the fire.
scorched, doesn't it? So I don't know if it was a bit of fire brick or something that's smoothed off in the water. I haven't got a clue, but it just felt a little bit unnatural.
Right, ooh, a natural spooky.
If you've enjoyed being with us today in this wonderful location, then check out the link up there. That'll take you to other adventures that we've been on. And if you'd like to, why not give us a thumbs up?
Doing, doing, doing.
That would be great. But most important, till the next time, have fun. Bye.
Bye.